Hi everybody, this is Professor B. This week I'm giving you your weekly video update from my house, from my office. Got Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop over my shoulder. I don't really know if any of you will recognize him, but yeah, I think this is actually the only video in a long time that I've recorded in this room. So I just wanted to touch base about a couple things. Number one, a reminder of what's due this week and what isn't due, since it's a little bit of a departure this week. And then number two, an apology and I guess some information about what we're going to do with this course going forward for subsequent semesters. So item one, just again, a reminder, you don't have a discussion post this week and you don't have a quiz. And the reason for that is, I know normally we always have, one or the other. There's either an assessment or there's a discussion post. This week, in order to kind of get through the unit on time, I'm having to give you 3 different people to learn about at once. Blake, Keats, and Shelley. Those are the other 3 kind of big romantic poets. And that's a decent chunk of info, and I didn't want to make you absorb all of that and then do additional work on top of it. So that's why your only homework for this week is just to kind of intake information. So the Blake PowerPoint, it's actually a PDF, but you're just going to look through it. It tells you everything you need to know about his biography, about his style, about... He was a really interesting individual. And chronologically, he's actually the first of the poets who we consider the Romantics, but he wasn't associated with any of the others. He was a creative individual in his own right. He was kind of doing his own thing, very inner-directed, as that sociologist David Reisman would have said later. So Blake is not connected to any of the others. Blake was kind of predated them, and he was doing his thing, but we lump him in with the Romantics because he originated a lot of the ideas that they would kind of pick up the football and run with. Wordsworth and Coleridge were best friends, and they did collab albums together. And then Shelley and Byron were best friends. And Keats also kind of ran with that crew. Although Keats was nowhere near as scandalous as Byron or Shelley. He was actually, by all accounts, kind of a sweetheart. And definitely he's one of my favorites as well. So, again, no actual tangible homework as far as there's nothing you're turning in this week. If you have any questions about that, let me know, as always. Secondly, this is just kind of a clarification and an apology about the state of the course in general. I think that, I've been teaching for 18 years, and I told my boss the other day that I think ego is the death of good teaching, and you always have to be willing to learn and grow and change. And when you are an instructor yourself, when you are a professor, sometimes your greatest teacher is the wall, which means when you just run into a wall, when you just run into a hard no and an obstacle and something just really doesn't work, that's your opportunity to learn from that. And failures instruct you probably just as much or more than successes do as an educator. And I'm just putting that out there in case any of you are going to go on to teach one day. So all that being said, I just want you to know that you're heard. I've heard from a couple of you, and I think many of you are actually just being very kind and just deciding to kind of bite rubber and just get through the modules. I understand that, particularly for those of you who had me in person or for those of you who had me in a Discord class, like I referred to last week, the language was that I heard was disappointing, and I'm not even upset at you for that because it's fair. Like, I put in my syllabus that I always want to be approachable and I want you to be able to tell me these things, so I'm kind of right there with you. Like, it's in a way, this technology is, as I've said to you before, it's not what I'm used to. This is my first time ever even though I've been teaching for 18 years and I've been at Roan State for 8 years, it's It's my first time ever teaching on momentum. And to be very frank with you, I only did it because they made me. And people who have me in person, they already know that, because I was not quiet about that complaint. So essentially, I hear you. I hear you, and I'm sorry. And that this class just isn't essentially as fun. It's just not as fun as my other courses. It's not as fun as a lit class should be. And I want to know that, or I want you to know that I did call my boss, my dean, and I had a conversation with him about it. And I said, you know, ultimately, and by the way, I don't want you to get nervous. This doesn't impact anything that we are doing. This is just kind of me thinking going forward and admitting. I guess I want to say fault, but also I think it also is maybe just more of a mismatch. It's not the apple's fault that it's not an orange, if that makes sense. But I basically told him that, you know, at the end of the day, modern Brit-Lit normally is a course that depends so much on interaction. Because of the themes that we're talking about, it's not really like geology where I can just like hand you the information. Which, I mean, that is what I am doing, but I don't think that's what it's meant to be, just because, you know, spiritually, what the Romantics are about, what Frankenstein is about, like, everything we're going to be doing. And I want to stress this, and if you take nothing else away from this video, this is the part I want you to hear. You're doing great. You're awesome. And if I haven't told you that enough, let me say it again. You're doing fabulously. For the most part, there's actually an astonishing, probably alarming amount of A's. If you're listening to this video, you're doing great. Everyone is absolutely copacetic and doing what they're supposed to be doing. Again, with like a tiny exception, and you are fabulous. I'm sad that I'm not giving you a better experience. So this is about me, and it's about, again, a discordance or a mismatch between modality and subject matter. It's not about you. You are superb. Those of you who I've not taught before, and those of you who I have. So this is just an apology from me that I know this isn't like as spicy or interesting or exciting or interactive or any of that stuff as previous Bolden experiences have been. And I'm not even saying those were great, but especially, you know, if you came here based on previous experiences, then you expected a specific something. You expected a specific brand from me, and I've not been able to deliver that brand. You haven't gotten that product. And so I want to take accountability for that. Momentum is a robot. It can't take accountability for anything, but but I'll take accountability on its behalf. Long story short, this course that is like technically I'm associated with Oak Ridge. So this course will not be offered in this format again. I have informed my boss, and he agrees with me, that it really needs to go back to being in person. And furthermore, I think that, and this is the part that hurts, but I think probably an instructor who has been doing their time and working really hard and like just teaching comp classes and hasn't had a lit, because everybody loves the lit courses, I think they deserve a crack at it. So I've actually surrendered it for the future, because I just don't think it's fair that you haven't had a spectacular time. And in the future, another professor will take it. I've got suggestions. I don't know who is going to have it, but in my mind, I know some people who deserve it. And I will get to keep the early Brit-Lit, which some of you had me for. That is my passion project. That's, you know, I am a medievalist, and that's where my heart is, and I will still have that. I will still have my Comp 2. I'll still have my Comp 1. I'll put a little I'll put a little content warning on this that says there's a lot of insider baseball in this video after the 3rd minute, so you don't you don't have to listen. If anybody is actually listening this far, I would love to give you a sticker. I have like entire books of Korean and Japanese stickers and 3D stickers. If you want any, you definitely deserve them at this juncture. But I just think it's better to be upfront and not pretend that I'm that I'm giving you what I wanted to give you when I can't. So you are being troopers. You are being such good soldiers. Thank you for hanging in there while I experiment with and adjust to this new format. And it's okay to discover that, like, yeah, okay, they really probably don't correspond, like this course shell with this subject. In the meantime, you're like, how does that affect me? Typing in the chat, bro who asked. Bro, I'm happy for you, but I ain't reading all that. Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't affect you, except for that if there is anything I can do, let me know. If there's anything you need from me, I am here. The one thing I haven't really heard from y'all is, like, in office hours or over email, you're not really... I'm assuming everything is okay and running smooth with you because I haven't heard from you. Now, I'm guessing probably next week I'll hear from more of you because that's when your first test is. So I'm guessing there'll probably be more questions about that. But I just want to reiterate, I am here. I'm always here. I've got 15 office hours per week. I've, except for fall break, where I will clock out. Even then, I'm not physically going anywhere, but except for fall break, I'm around. So just know that I'm here. If you have questions about these poems, if you have questions about your grade, I will give you your grade at any time. Everybody will get their overall grade when I mail out the test scores. But if you need it now, let me know. Shoot me an email. So I will leave you alone. I just wanted to touch base with you as I always do, and I also wanted to, again, take some accountability for some things. But to touch on this again, your only job for this week is reading and listening. The videos that I recorded about the Keats poem and the Shelley poem, I'm not doing anything visual. There's not like a PowerPoint or a whiteboard. So if you need to just kind of use it like a podcast while you're knitting or doing dishes or something, you can. There's nothing you need to look at in those videos. You just have to listen. So speaking of listening, thank you for your ears today. This video was a little longer than normal, so I appreciate your patience. And I hope that you have a great weekend. The weather actually is pretty nice today. I hope you're able to enjoy it and touch grass, as the youth say. And thank you so much for being patient, for being kind, for giving me your thoughts on this material. And I just hope you have a day as great as you.